My name is Grumm Lindsay, and I know most of you would have not heard my name there. Most of you will be thinking my name is Liam Lindsay, but it's not, it's Grumm Lindsay. I am an immigrant from Scotland, living in Canada now, going on my 8th year, and I'm a musician, an entertainer, and a window cleaner. Yeah, a father, and a bad friend as it turns out today, but I'm trying. So I grew up in a small town in the west coast of Scotland, on the Atlantic Ocean. A population of 12,000 people, more like a tourist destination for Glaswegians. It's got some little islands in the front of it that a lot of the Glaswegians in the surrounding cities, they come there for their holidays, and it's famous for two things: amusement arcades and ice cream. It's famous for Nardini's ice cream, an Italian family. They've been making ice cream for 500 years apparently. And growing up there was terrible because, well, for a multitude of reasons, but living in a small town like that, generally everybody knows everybody else. And I came from one of the bigger families there, so if you farted in one end of town, they knew about it in the other. And I didn't really like that because I was a bit of a scallywag growing up. So any time I'd done something silly, for sure as shit, everybody would know about it. There was no real hiding. My younger years there were amazing because of with the ocean at one side and the hills at the other side. There was just so much to do for a child. And but when I became a teenager, very, very hard because there's nothing to do then. There's no avenue to release. And I got myself into a lot of trouble. I was constantly being arrested by the police. These were mediocre things. I mean, this is just growing pains, smashing a window, peeing in the street, stealing apples from a tree, you know, getting into fights. Nothing really terrible in the grand scheme of terrible things. And I knew I had to move out there as soon as I was released from my parents' duties, which was very early on. My mother took it upon herself to start calling me a man when I was 16, and I begged her, I'm not a man, I am far from that. I'm not responsible enough to wash my own clothes or to do much, but she took it upon herself to think that I was a man and cast me out to the big bad world, as she put it, when I was 16, and it was horrible. It was horrible. I eventually moved to the city. I moved to Glasgow when I was 20 because I knew if I stayed in this small town any longer, I was going to end up in prison. And I didn't have the build for prison. I was always kind of skinny. I didn't really like weightlifting or, didn't really like criminals either, but I knew I had to get out of there. So off to the city I went in search for pastors new and some excitement, which I found in the city. Oh, and women, of course, as well, because coming from a small town like that, it's hard to get laid. I don't miss the town that I grew up in at all. I miss the ocean, but the ocean surrounds the whole country, so, you know, it's not really the town. When I think of the town that I grew up in, I feel anxious and I feel scared. I miss my mum when I think of the town that I grew up in. My mother's still there, and if anything, that's the only thing about that town that I miss is my mother.
Do you have a good relationship now?
My mother and I have never had a relationship after my father died, and to this day we still don't really have a relationship. I get for a number of reasons. When my father died, my mother had to support me herself, and she took it upon herself to just work harder. She had a house to pay for. She had wanted to feed me, make sure I was clothed and looked after. So she worked 3 jobs, which meant I never really seen her. which was good and bad. It was good because I could do whatever I wanted. I had free range. Nobody was watching me. Nobody was keeping an eye on me. But for that very same reason, it was bad, because I never went to school, primary school or high school. I lived right next door to the primary school, and my high school was not that far away as well. But my mother would leave for work before I had to go to school. So she would just say, "See you later, Graham, see you when you come home from school." I wouldn't go to school. I just sat in the house. I'd wait till she was coming home from work. I'd mess my school uniform up, mess my bag up, throw my packed lunch away, and she'd think that I was at school all day. And then the same with high school. 5 years you're supposed to do in high school, and at least 5 years, I went 100 days. 5 years, I went 100 days of high school. And that makes me so sad, because my mother didn't know. She wasn't aware of it. She thought I was going to school every day. And that makes me sad for the fact that my mother didn't know that, but also makes me sad because the teachers allowed it. Nobody was really pressing me to go back to school. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact I was in a lot of remedial classes, or SPUD. We used to call them SPUD classes. Foundation, I guess is what you would call them, the lower end of the of the hierarchy. For instance, my maths class, we played bingo for candy. In high school, we played bingo for candy. And that angers me to this day, makes me so angry that our teacher was allowed to do that. I'm not interested in going to school. I'd much rather hang with friends and get into trouble. Like I was saying, steal apples, smash windows, just be a little bit of a scallywag. But it ruined my education, because still to this day I don't know how to write. I read badly, but I can't write. I have no understanding of geography or history. The only thing I did pass for exams was physical education and English. And the only way I passed my English was through my speaking. I managed to get like a 2, which would be a B here. So I got a general pass for that. But I wish I had a better education. As much as the whole high school diploma is bullshit, having the understanding of education is very important. Everybody tells you have to get your high school diploma. No, you don't, but you have to go to high school because you need to have an understanding of how to learn, and how to retain information, because that's kind of what it teaches you. You have to retain information, and that's important in the growing of the mind, and I didn't get that. I totally missed that. Also, when you don't go to high school and you're given your whole day to yourself, when you're young and you have no guidance, I was raised by my mother, no father, and nobody watching me or telling me the rights and wrongs, I was a fucking idiot. I didn't know right from wrong or what to do. So the choices I made were generally the wrong choice. And till this day, I still carry that kind of ethos in my life, and that's a hindrance. It's not been very good, and I wish I didn't have that, But again, well, that comes to the family breakdown, or a father suicide, I should say. But growing up in a small town was fun for a while, but I was so glad when it was over. Music started for me at a very young age. I always enjoyed singing. My mother would always have a karaoke machine in the house. My stepfather, my mother remarried after 10 years of being alone. My stepfather was very big into music, played the guitar, and I always enjoyed singing. I would sing ABBA songs with my mother, and I just enjoyed it. I was terrible at it, and always getting told to shut up about it. You sound like a cat screaming, etc. And then I never pursued that at all. It was just something I liked to do in the house. I never went to bars to sing karaoke. Even to this day, I don't go to bars to do karaoke at all. It's really not my thing. But yeah, I suffered from depression or thoughts of suicide for a long time, and didn't want to take any antidepressants, and I couldn't get any treatment from therapists. And I was told by another person who suffers from depression that when they get sad or when they feel like hurting themselves, they write. Maybe I should try writing my thoughts down and look at them from a different angle, under a different light. So I started writing on paper, you know, just little bits, thoughts and stuff, and I couldn't read them back because my writing is not legible. So I looked online. This is like the mid-90s, and really at the very start of the internet. And I found a website where you could post poetry and prose or creative writing, and I started writing there because, well, it's typed out. At least if it's not spelled correctly, it's still legible. You still kind of understand what's been said. And to my complete shock, I was getting hundreds and thousands of comments on it about how the people were relating, how it was good work. They were calling it good work, and it saved my life because I used to cut myself, and I hated doing that. It was a cry for help. I understand that. It's always a cry for help. I wanted somebody to see the cuts and say, "How can I help you?" But nobody did. I would lie to my mother about it when she'd see these cuts. I would tell her I fell into a barbed wire fence, or, you know, I fell off my bike, or I would lie to her. But I was hoping that somebody would see it and go, "That's not right. That's not from falling off a bike. That's not barbed wire." I mean, these are select places, you know. I wanted help, and I wasn't getting it. But when I was writing how I was feeling down or trying to express it, and people were commenting on it, the ego, such a wonderful thing, because my ego was shiny. It was so bright that I stopped doing that. I stopped hurting myself like that, and I found an avenue in writing, and I became a poet for a number of years, where I would every day would just be writing, all day, all night, just writing. And eventually I wanted to play music, because I had some of these poems that I thought they would make a good song. You know, like I started finding like melodies to go with these poems and singing them, and I thought, like, these are different. Maybe this is how musicians do it. Maybe they're poets first, and then they become musicians. Maybe I could become a musician. Maybe I could do rock and roll. Maybe I could have that lifestyle. And the idea of that was so appealing to me, because it was another avenue to polish the ego more, I guess. So I got some friends who played the guitar, played bass, and we started a band called Insula Spark. And I sang these poems, we wrote some songs, and eventually I moved away from them because I came to Canada, and I picked up the guitar here because I didn't have my friends to play guitar, and I needed to make money. I thought, well, I've got these songs, I'll rewrite some of them with my own guitar playing, because I couldn't play what they were playing because they were talented musicians, and I was just picking up this instrument for the first time. So I had to rewrite them or make them something different. And I didn't want to. Well, I was going to go busking with these songs. I didn't want to busk cover songs, or I didn't want to play the other original songs badly. I thought I wanted them to be nice because I wanted to make more money. I was busking for food, and food for me and my child, so I needed them to be nice. I thought, I'm going to get more money like that. So if I make them nice and I have nice songs, people will give me money surely, because they're nice poems. I think people want to hear them. And I was so surprised because they did. They wanted to hear them, and they wanted to hear more of them. And I made money from it. And I fed me and my child for a number of years, playing guitar and singing these songs. And now it's become something different because it's saved my life. I found myself in a spot where I was completely suicidal, and I don't want to die. I've never wanted to die. My father killed himself in front of me when I was 6 years old. I've always felt like death is, or suicide is, it's in me. You know, I thought, well, my father had done it, so it's just a natural progression, you know. Like, you do it, like father like son, as they say. And I don't want that. I really don't want that. So, I use music, I use my guitar, and eventually the dog. But I strapped the guitar on and I didn't take it off for a year and a half. I didn't take it off my back because I thought, if I'm playing guitar then I'm not tying a rope. That was just, I knew that. If I'm doing something that makes me happy, something that I find purpose in, I'm not going to kill myself. So I didn't take the guitar off. And I owe a lot to music. I owe so much to it. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful that people want to listen to it. And I hope I do it justice. And I would like to become better at it. But if I don't become better at it, and I don't do it justice, I still have so much respect for it, and I'm so grateful for it because it saved my life. And still to this day, it saved my life every day, every night, every day. It gives me purpose, stops me from thinking about hurting myself. I could just sing these sad songs, sing these songs about hurting myself, or sing songs about anything. It makes everything better.